Good afternoon, and welcome to the Detroit Regional Chamber's Inside the CEO Mind series. And thank you for choosing to spend your valuable time with us and for your ongoing engagement and support of the Detroit Regional Chamber. This event would not be possible without the support of our longtime friends and partners at Comcast Business. Comcast has been a strong supporter of the Chamber across so many of our initiatives, especially those focused on the needs of small and medium-sized businesses, just like our Inside the CEO Mind series. Today, I am so pleased to welcome Linda Hubbard, President of Carhartt, to the Detroit Regional Chamber's Inside the CEO Mind series. Carhartt, a 127-year-old Michigan firm based right here in Michigan, is an iconic brand globally and is the go-to brand for really tough job sites like construction, mining, ranching, and manufacturing. It is also, though, through its iconic status, something of a fashion statement these days and a fixture in Hollywood movies. And that's what I call a brand with a lot of reach. So you can imagine we have been anxious here at the Chamber to get Linda as our guest for quite some time. As per usual in our Inside the CEO Mind format, our speaker today will give us a bit about her story and how it intersects with her rise to the presidency of this iconic company. But by introduction, let me just say two things. One, Carhartt is still family owned, and Linda is the first non-family member to serve as president in the company's 127-year history. Secondly, both Linda and the firm are committed to community engagement and giving back. Linda supports several civic causes, and I am pleased to serve with Linda as the director of the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago Detroit Board. And with that, I am very pleased to welcome our friend, Linda Hubbard. Linda, welcome.
Thank you, Sandy. Appreciate the very kind introduction. And hello to everyone out there. I understand the format of this is normally provides you an opportunity to visit our offices and walk around and actually see and touch some of the product potentially that we make. So unfortunately, in the world we're living in, I can't host you at Carhartt headquarters or in our Detroit store today, but I do, just appreciate the opportunity to be with you and speak about just this importance of building emotional connections, and not just emotional connections between the consumer and the company, but deep emotional connections between your consumer or customer and the associates that work for your company. So we know, like, 2020 was just incredibly challenging and has been for all of us. And in this world where we're more physically distant than we would like to be from our own associates, we've heard, I'm certain all of you as leaders have heard from your teams about how they're struggling emotionally, how they're working to stay connected and focused. And so at Carhartt, we really felt that this foundation and the work that we've done about building this connection has helped us through this pandemic, and I wanted to share some of that with you through the lens of Carhartt today. But I think a lot of what I say will apply to your businesses as well. So I'm happy to share my story. I thought I'd start with just a little background on myself personally, and then move into my time at Carhartt. So I am a native Detroiter. I grew up in this area. I've lived here my whole life, which is, I think, sort of unusual now. And I am a first-generation college student. And as you can see by the slide, you might see where my affinity lies. I'm a Michigan State grad. And this is also a picture of my family. I met my husband, Mark, at Michigan State, and I have two sons who are also Spartans, and I have a relatively recent daughter-in-law who's a Spartan. So pretty much we're just a go green, go white family. And I owe a lot to Michigan State for providing me a foundation and everything that I've achieved in my career. I was an accounting major at Michigan State, and from that led me to my first job, and that job was at Plant Moran. So I went into public accounting when I graduated in 1982, started that summer after I graduated at Plant Moran, and spent 20 years there from as a staff accountant all the way through partner. And even though I'm certain you would agree that there's a lot of differences between a professional services firm and a company that manufactures and sells t-shirts, hats, and jackets, I think there's just a lot of similarities in some of the foundational operating principles that I learned as a young staff person there, and things that I've taken with me all the way through my career, some leadership learnings. So Frank Moran called his firm a people firm disguised as an accounting firm. And to speak a little bit about Frank, he was one of the founding partners of the firm, and certainly the founding philosopher of the firm. And I did have the opportunity to work with him when I first joined. And one of the things that sort of an inspirational story that I always remember Frank sharing was his vision for the firm. And he likened it, he aspired to be like the Mayo Clinic, he said. He pictured one door of the building, people, basically patients at the Mayo Clinic, but clients of Plant Moran lined up outside the door trying to get in to get some help solving some complex business problems. And I think we could all relate to that. I mean, how great would that be to have our customers just lined up outside, waiting to get in the door? We'd all feel great about what our upside opportunities were going to be if we saw that. But probably even more impactful to me was the other side of the building that Frank talked about, which was a line of people, a line of folks that wanted to work at Plant Moran, folks that were excited to be engaged to really help people solve problems and be challenged and to build their skills and use their talents to really help people achieve what their personal or business goals were. So that idea of connecting, the customer and then the people that are serving that customer started very early on for me in my career, and I've kept that in mind and think we've applied a lot of that even at Carhartt. So another, just as an aside that I couldn't resist bringing up is another factor or another piece of information about my career that I was very impactful to me. What that was, this slide talks about Plant Moran women in leadership, and quite honestly, I'm older than the women in leadership formal movement at Plant Moran. So this actually started after I left. So not to age myself, but I guess I am. But there was sort of an informal moment for women at Plant Moran when I started in 1982. And I wanted to bring it up because I think there is some correlation to what we have experienced this year in all of our discussions around racial injustice and recognizing we have unconscious bias with respect to race and many other diverse attributes of some of our associates. And so it was something, as I was thinking about how do we become better inclusive leaders at Carhartt, I thought back to when I started at Plant Moran. Just before I started, it was primarily a male, partnership, primarily a white male partnership, and not that many women had yet joined into the industry of public accounting. But the partners, I'm picturing this as a Monday night meeting, a very small group of people at a partner meeting, had a very candid conversation with each other about, we might have some unconscious bias about not placing some of our women staff members on some of the larger or more complex accounts, or we may have told ourselves that our clients wouldn't be comfortable with having a woman on their account, and we just don't want to create conflict, and we want to make sure that our clients are comfortable. And so we're just unconsciously, not taking action and not standing up to the right thing to do. And honestly, that conversation happened just about the time that I started, and I benefited tremendously from this recognition of that unconscious bias, because I was placed on, some complex accounts, challenging accounts, and one of those was Carhartt, which I on all of those experiences, I learned a tremendous amount. So I moved after 20 years as a current partner at Plant Moran. I joined Carhartt as CFO when Carhartt's CFO retired. And over the years, I added some other responsibilities beyond the CFO role. I combined that with the COO role and learned a lot about supply chain and manufacturing and sourcing. And then 7 years ago was promoted to president and COO at Carhartt. Our CEO is Mark Valade, who is a fourth generation Carhartt family member and still very actively involved in the company. So let me tell you a little bit about Carhartt. We have 3 business models at Carhartt. There is the wholesale model, which is our oldest model, where we sell Carhartt product to retail partners like a Dick's Sporting Goods or a Home Depot, Bass Pro, Tractor Supply. And this has been our traditional revenue stream for as long as the company has existed. But then we added more recently 2 new business models. One is our direct-to-consumer model, and hopefully some of you have already visited Carhartt.com, which is our e-commerce site where we sell direct-to-consumer. And we have about 33 specialty apparel Carhartt stores around the country that we've opened over the last 6 years. So that has been just, in a tremendously fast growing part of our business as the whole digital acceleration has taken shape over the last few years, and even more so in recent months. And then more recently, just in the last year or 2, we've started a 3rd business model around Carhartt Company Gear, which is a business to business sales model where we are selling uniform programs direct to businesses for companies whose associates or employees want to wear Carhartt to work. So everything that we've developed is really around just making it easier for that Carhartt consumer and enthusiast to find and buy Carhartt. A little bit, some facts about us. We have about 5,300 associates worldwide, 2,700 in the US. We have 6 supply chain facilities in Kentucky and Tennessee, 4 facilities in Mexico, so sewing operations, cutting, distribution facilities. And, one of the things that's really important to us, we serve people that make things. That's our tried and true core consumer, is someone who makes things with his or her hands, crafts people, skilled labor. And so it was really important for us, even as other apparel companies abandoned their own manufacturing capabilities and became, primarily sourcing. We have continued to be a manufacturer, and we've never stopped manufacturing in the US. We've, in the past decade, we've made more than 10 million pieces of workwear. We are still the largest producer of workwear in the country. So talking a little bit more about what I wanted to speak to today, how to build this emotional connection between your consumer or your customers and your associates. I mean, look at this guy. This is a Carhartt consumer. Those of you like me that sit at a desk and do your job in an office, I mean, you have to be inspired and quite literally humbled by the degree of difficulty, physical difficulty and skill that some of these folks that are frontline, hardworking people do every day. And we really built our reputation on providing this high quality workwear at a great value for working men and women. And we have incredibly loyal consumers. We have some people that have owned the same jacket for 20 years. And now I'm going to be honest with you, some of those guys, when they come in our stores with their worn and torn jackets, you know, it might be, I don't know if you can see my vest, but it might be this far apart now, 20 years later, instead of closing all the way, you know, because we all get a little bit, you know, potentially bigger as we get older, but they can't give up the jacket, right? And we just, we love that people feel this emotional connection to the product and the whole life cycle of that product. And so we wanted to just continue to message that to our associates to make sure they understood that the jobs they're doing, no matter what it was so incredibly important in us executing on our mission and our promise to serve these hardworking people. During the pandemic, we leaned into this idea of everyday heroes. And again, look at all these amazing faces of hardworking people. Okay, and a few hardworking dogs are in there too, because we know, and a few hardworking children, because we know dogs and kids get tons of likes on Instagram and social media, and they're hardworking too. But I mean, it's just so inspiring to be able to tell stories about these people and make that very real, authentic connection, and share their stories about how they've worn Carhartt and how they've used it to do their job better. I will say you may recognize, and this is just one of those interesting business stories that you probably all have something similar to this. You see people wearing our watch cap with the Carhartt label in the middle. You see the little child in the top row, and there's a couple other folks in the top row wearing that watch cap. It's about 25 years old now. You may recognize it. It's actually our #1 selling item now for Carhartt, and you know, a walking billboard for our brand. So we are, you know, so excited to see that. But this hat, when we made it, was actually a gift with purchase. We didn't sell it when we started out. We just thought it'd be, you know, it would entice somebody to buy a coat 25 years ago. So under that better to be lucky than good scenario, you know, we discovered an incredible product that has, you know, just really activated the brand and helped us build, you know, an even stronger brand image. So I wanted to talk about our mission, and this has been our mission for a long time at Carhartt. We build rugged products to serve and protect hardworking people. And I'm certain that all of you have listened to or at least read about portions of Simon Sinek's famous TED Talk about the importance of why. And the premise of his talk is that you need to know why you're in business, and you share that with the world. You know, your customers and your employees buy into the why as their motivation, and it's your reason for being. So it's not your what. It's not that you make coats and jackets, but it's your why that you build rugged products. And why do you do that? To serve and protect hardworking people. And, you know, it may seem sort of obvious, but it isn't always easy to share and translate that why all the way across your business. And so we've spent a lot of time at Carhartt making sure that everyone focuses on the why and understands the why. This is another just you know, inspiring thing that happens at Carhartt quite often, and that is people, you know, send us in letters. And normally, you know, consumer products companies get letters complaining, right? I mean, you would expect that. That's where, you know, people are upset, but we get predominantly letters and posts and just attaboys from customers all the time, consumers that write in and tell us the story about their product. And this is an example of a farmer who said he purchased these line bibs in 1976. And he, you know, obviously was rather demanding on them. And he had his wife, you know, repair them over the years, and then she passed away. And then he had a neighbor who he was friends with and continued to repair them. And then she passed away. And so he basically said, you know, 20 plus years later, the bibs have outlived his wife and his neighbor. And so he thought it was time to return them to us. And he mailed in this letter with these bibs. I mean, this is gold. When we get stuff like this, we immediately frame the bib. You know, we frame the letter and put it on the walls of our office and share it across the company with our associates about this emotional connection that this person had to our brand, and how it connected to his whole life and his family. And, probably not great for repeat purchases if he had the same pair of bibs for 20 years, but that's okay. We're thinking he probably bought a few other pieces of Carhartt along the way. And it just gives our folks, especially those that make these products, an incredible sense of pride in what they do and the quality of the work that they do. And so out of that whole passion for our mission and serving and protecting hardworking people, that passion, once you start formalizing it and harnessing it, it really becomes, you can define your values around it, and those values become your decision-making principles. So we have 3 core values at Carhartt. Act like Hamilton Carhartt, be inspired by hardworking people, respect our past by walking bravely into the future, and do the right thing, work with honesty and integrity. So we all feel an incredible part of building Carhartt's living legacy. As as Sandy said, we're more than a century old. We have a quote from Hamilton Carhartt that we like to talk about a lot, which is, we're building our business for the years, not a season or two. And so talking again about this first value, really, we like to say Ham did our first consumer intercept. When he first started his business, he met with some railroad engineers to figure out how to design our first product. And out of that, I guess he failed the first time, so his first prototype didn't work. But the second one was a success, and he just really believed in understanding what the consumer wanted and connecting to that. One of the things, he really believed in quality, but also quality of life for hardworking people, to keep them protected. He actually voluntarily instituted an 8-hour workday as early as 1898. This was years and decades before any kind of labor legislation was introduced mandating an 8-hour day. So early on, our founder recognized the importance of protecting and serving those that are doing hard work. And there isn't any better way for us to honor our own associates, who we think are the hardest working associates. So I wanted to share with you a video we made to honor them and really use as part of a digital campaign last year. This is how we make a pair of pants at Carhartt.
At Carhartt, we're pretty darn proud of our pants. This story is about some of the people who make them. The 61 operators down in Kentucky and Tennessee, working each day to build our classic BO1 double fronts. Now, if you don't mind, we've got 61 people to thank. Starting with these guys. Thanks for spreading the American milled fabric. To James, thanks for cutting it. Thank you, shippers, sorters, hemmers, sewers, and every single person working on pockets. Thanks to Mildred for the J-stitch. Buttons and zippers, that's all Corey and Beth. Triple thanks to everyone triple stitching seams. For setting the knee patches, that goes double. To the multiple inspectors, attachers of waistbands and belt loops, taggers, baggers, and these 2 guys working together for the past 46 years, thank you. At Carhartt, we make pants all over the world. And every pair has to live up to the pants we're building right here in Kentucky and Tennessee since 1939.
So I hope you enjoyed that. I visited our plants the week after we filmed that last year, and I mean, people just felt like they were rock stars being featured in one of our media campaigns, and kept stopping me to say, "Are you sure I'm going to be in the video? Are you sure I'm going to be in the video?" So just really inspirational for our own hardworking associates to be honored that way. Our second, our second core value is respecting the past by walking bravely into the future. And what this is about is really, yes, we make a lot of iconic products, but we also have to stay relevant and make sure that we're innovating and evolving to meet the new consumer needs. This is a picture from our new Carhartt Company Gear program for uniforms, and this is for United Airlines, a below the wing associate. Those folks asked to wear Carhartt to work, and we met with them to design specific use uniforms for their needs, working on the tarmac and in the airline industry. Our last value is do the right thing, work with honesty and integrity. And this again is just, you know, people can smell a fake, right? I mean, you have to be authentic, and whatever that passion is that you want to connect everyone to in your company, it has to be really built from the soul of who you are. It has to be real, or you're never going to build that trust. And if people believe that that is truly your mission, they're going to build incredible product. They're going to deliver incredible service. This is a sewer in our Irvine, Kentucky plant. We had a special edition chore coat. The chore coat was 100 years old last year. I mean, we have some stuff that stays in the line, you know, a little while. In fact, we like to joke that, you know, we have a pair of shorts that is past the legal drinking age. So, you know, we do carry stuff for a while when people love it. But we did this special edition chore coat, and inside, because of that, the people that sewed them actually signed the inside. And this sewer got a thank you note back from a consumer about the coat. I mean, what an incredible connection between a consumer and one of our associates. And she shared it across the company on her personal social media, on Carhartt social media. And just, you know, that just reinforces the quality of the work that's being done when people can actually see who's wearing their product. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time, lessons learned from the pandemic, and share a video that really kind of sets up my discussion from CBS Sunday Morning that aired last April about companies and what they were doing in the early days of the pandemic.
Some of the best weapons against COVID-19 turn out to be a needle and thread. As Lee Cowan now shows us, pitching in means stitching.
Do you feel it's a responsibility?
Absolutely, I feel it's a responsibility. It's a responsibility and it's an honor.
William Hardy is with Carhartt, a company more than a century old now that helped train Red Cross workers to cut fabric for garments and outfitted our troops during both World Wars.
So World War I, we made the trousers for our soldiers. You know, we move into World War II, and most people don't know we made the jungle suits for the Marines who fought in the Pacific Theater.
Now they're back at it, making some 50,000 gowns and 2.5 million masks, all for a new kind of frontline warrior.
It is emotional for me.
Why is it so emotional?
I just think it's our time. I think about the sacrifice of those men and women that we're losing every day. You know, this is a way to save some of our folk today and also make those folks proud that gave us the opportunity years and years ago.
So it doesn't get more authentic than William Hardy. He actually has 3 generations of his family that have worked for Carhartt. He's our Senior Vice President of Supply Chain. You know, this was the amazing thing during the pandemic. We had to close because we couldn't quite figure out how to do social distancing as we were re-engineering the plants. We had our associates who, from the ground up, contacted us and said, hey, we're about serving and protecting hardworking people. What about all these first responders and medical people that need PPE and there's a shortage, and we're an apparel company? I mean, let's get after it, you know, Carhartt. So we started making masks and gowns. We re-engineered the building to keep people safe. We just asked for a volunteer force, obviously paid, but you know, those people that felt comfortable coming in. And we sewed masks and gowns for a while. And it was just really, you know, something that started from the ground up, something that made us incredibly proud of our associates. During the pandemic, like everyone else, we cut back on marketing spend. So instead of you know, having to spend money on search engine marketing, we actually let some friends of Carhartt, people that were Carhartt enthusiasts that had small businesses or provided services to actually take over our website for the day. And you know, either they were wearing Carhartt or talked about how they used Carhartt as a tool in their job. But again, this connection between our the folks that wear Carhartt really resonated with our own associates and other consumers as they looked for interesting social media during the pandemic. Another factor that we've been spending a lot of time around, not in addition to the pandemic, there was of course all of the conversations we were having around racial injustice after the murder of George Floyd. And so we have been for the last several years working to make sure that our photography and our brand messaging is inclusive. And we actually were recognized in September by Forbes for the fact that we're using real people and that we're featuring, you know, the whole workforce, the diversity of the frontline workers out there. So overall, as we navigated the pandemic, we felt great that we were listening to our associates, and we heard very positive response from our associates. I sort of, as a metric to share what we learned, we just took our most recent associate survey in October, so last month, and got the results back last week. And I wanted to share sort of the 2 top questions that we've been measuring year over year around associate engagement. We had an 84% response rate. This is everyone in the company, including all of our sewing associates, union and non-union, our distribution workers, people around the world that work for us. So great participation. We had 92% of those folks said, taking everything into account, I would say this is a great place to work. And 94% said, I'm proud to work at Carhartt. So we didn't take for granted that that would be the outcome. It's actually a 25-point increase over the last 4 years in this engagement score. So we've worked really hard as a company to listen to the feedback we've gotten from our associates, to work harder about connecting them to the why of Carhartt, why it's important to serve and protect hardworking people and to be inspired by that. And I would have to say that, you know, if you believe in metrics and the conversations that we've had, people are engaged even in this really physically distanced, very difficult world that we're navigating right now. So I would encourage all of you to, you know, think through how you're connecting your customer and your consumer to your own everyday heroes, like we have here at Carhartt. And you remember that slide earlier where I told you, look at all those amazing faces of consumers. These are some of the amazing faces of Carhartt associates. And so we featured sort of our own internal campaign about our own everyday heroes as well. So thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to turn it back over to Sandy.
Great. Linda, that was just an outstanding presentation with great visuals. And I think one of your core messages just came through so clearly, which was authenticity. You know, authenticity of the brand, authenticity of the work experience, authenticity about how the leaders like you lead at Carhartt. So that was incredibly inspirational. I'm going to do this. We're going to kind of go back and forth a little bit, but I want to encourage our audience that has joined us and has grown notably since we hit the go button. If you have a question, please feel free. In fact, we encourage you to find the question box. It'll be on the right-hand side in a control panel. You probably need your bionic eye. It says question. You can pop it out and type in your question in that box. Also, I do understand that there were some people who didn't catch the sound to one of the videos that was shown. We're sorry about that. We kind of had that same random issue during our dress rehearsal. So we'll find a way to make those videos available to you after the fact. So before we move to audience questions, Linda, I have some questions of my own for you. So first of all, and this is a really pressing question, you know, you showed the dogs in the pictures. I have to ask, does Carhartt have a pet apparel line?
Absolutely.
Was that dog wearing Carhartt?
that dog was wearing a Carhartt dog chore coat, absolutely.
That
So
is
yeah,
absolutely awesome.
you can find it on Carhartt.com or any retail partners, but yeah, I mean, Carhartt people are dog people, and we have continued to grow our pet accessories line because, you know, people want to dress them in that. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun to see.
Well, that shouldn't surprise me, and I just absolutely think that's awesome that you have that. So my next question is related. So you and I have talked a little bit about this at Fed board meetings, but you know, the rise of Carhartt as a fashion brand, I mean, is really impressive. And I have two questions. You know, one, how did this occur? I mean, you know, what was the genesis of this? You know, was it engineered? Was it organic? And the second question I have is that, is there a risk to the core Carhartt ethos and business by this growing, you know, Carhartt as Ben Affleck casual wear takes off? So can you address those questions?
You know, I will say that it really was an organic movement. So again, because we're so connected to the consumer took us off the job first. And then we were like, oh, hey, you know, they're taking us off the job. They're wearing our double front pants to do mountain climbing out in the Pacific Northwest. So all of a sudden we were recognizing that if it was rugged enough to wear to work, it was a great value and rugged enough to wear for hard play. And so we just started leaning into that, and we've become, besides a work brand, also very significant to outdoor enthusiasts. That, you know, we're just a great value equation compared to potentially just some other outdoor brands, and we're usually next to them in the same space. And as we've grown our, you know, sporting goods distribution and other types, it's just continued to evolve from there. From the standpoint of risk, we do stick to our knitting, okay? So we know that the reason we resonate authenticity is because we stay true to that. Everything that we build is work worthy. So you might not wear it on the job, but you can, and it'll you know, withstand the rigors of work. And that's just sort of our lens of everything we build is work worthy, but we also, you know, are welcoming. We invite anyone else into the brand, you know, that aspires to look as rugged and tough as that guy that we saw on the tires next to the freighter. You know, you might not be doing that on a regular basis, but if that's what you aspire, you know, to be, go for it. We're fine with that.
So, and kind of expanding on this authenticity that just runs through your organization and your brand, Friends of Carhartt. That is, tell us about how that started. I mean, obviously these are super fans of the Carhartt brand and experience. Can you tell us how that began and how Carhartt supports and cultivates those super fans?
Mm-hmm. We actually have a group of people that we call the Carhartt crew that number about 6,000 people, and they're actually in all different types of skilled work or crafts. And so when we're doing product testing or consumer intercepts, those are the people that we reach out to, and that is really how the Friends of Carhartt piece of it started evolving. Is we wanted to promote skilled trades. We wanted to promote a younger generation with more options than potentially just going, you know, straight to college, to look for other opportunities to make just a great living. We wanted to celebrate some of the really cool artistic craftspeople that wear Carhartt while they're doing their, you know, while they're doing their art or their work or their craft. So we've just continued to lean into that Carhartt for workers. And when we say we serve and protect hardworking people, well, we also need to serve and protect their hard way, you know, their hard way of life. I mean, how do we continue to improve the way of life for those people, the economic opportunities, and those things, besides just giving them clothes that keep them safe?
Yeah,
so we've been building. One of the example is we have dedicated the third floor of our Carhartt store, flagship store in Detroit, to a group called ISAC, which stands for Industrial Sewing and Innovation Center. And they've built a not-for-profit training center to try to bring the sewing industry back to Detroit. We have also connected with Grow Detroit Young Talent, which is an organization that provides opportunities for Detroit youth, almost 8,000 youth, to find some summer jobs and develop some skills that can help them later on. We have a connection with Skills USA, Future Farmers of America. So really going after those groups that are connected to young people to grow, just a recognition of the opportunities of skilled labor.
Looking at Carhartt, Linda, it's your workforce is a skilled workforce serving the world's skilled workforce. So I'm not surprised to hear you talk about, getting to future skilled workers. What is the state of skilled workers today, the supply of skilled workers, not just for your industry, but for the industries that you serve?
Well, we just did a campaign around Labor Day, so I have this number, on the top of my head, but we talked about the construction trades, which is, a huge user of our product. As of October, there was 1.67 million construction jobs unfilled, open, that just, a huge lack of resources as people retire and leave those trades. And you're seeing now, continuing growth in the home building industry. There's just a lot of unmet need for this kind of labor force. And that's really why we're activating around that mission.
Great. Well, we have a lot of questions from our audience, so I'm going to jump to those just a little bit early because I fear we're going to run out of time. So our first question comes from Mary Jane, Linda, and that is, how do you screen new employees to ensure that they will align with your amazing culture at Carhartt?
We hire slow and fire fast, so that that whole making sure that we really spend the right amount of time. But I think the challenge for all of us isn't to hire people like ourselves, right? That's not inclusive leadership. That's not additive to the culture. It's just trying to create the sameness. So there isn't a screening to make sure you fit. There isn't a mold for Carhartt. We are open to anyone that brings an additive piece to our culture. I think what we most want is just somebody that connects to the passion. And even if you didn't grow up in a family that was that your dad wasn't a laborer, or that your dad wasn't in construction or farming or whatever, I do think there's just this ethos in America about people have great respect for hard work, and that celebration of people doing things that with a lot of grit, and that's sort of what we look for, is just sort of respect for others, no matter what their position is in life. It isn't we're probably, elitism probably doesn't work at Carhartt. That's probably the one thing that you'd struggle with if that was your persona.
Relatedly, I'll just ask this: you in one of the videos you showed, there were the two gentlemen who were the packers that had been working together for, I think, 42 years. So you obviously have some real longevity at Carhartt, and obviously your employee engagement survey. By the way, I hope Plant Moran does your employee engagement survey like they do ours. Being a Plant Moran alum yourself. But what do you account for this longevity, and what is the average tenure of a Carhartt employee?
Well, in our sewing plants that are in small communities, there aren't a lot of employers in some of these towns or close by. So you do tend to get families and generational people working at Carhartt. As we've been in Kentucky since 1932 in these sewing plants. So, there is an opportunity to get, to get a lot of consistent labor. And we still have a very low turnover rate. We really do. at our corporate headquarters. Probably our biggest challenge used to be to actually be able to hire some creative and design help, because Detroit isn't exactly a mecca for apparel. And there, obviously that was more of an East and West Coast design experience around apparel. But, at Detroit as a city, as it's elevated its coolness and grit and edginess factor and visibility nationally, we've been able to attract creative people and young artistic people to the company as well. So we do very well in attracting and retaining now, as the brands also become more prominent and people know what it is.
And Detroit was designated, last year as a UNESCO City of Design. So
Right.
Our chops on that are getting to be fairly well recognized.
Mm-hmm.
Linda, there's a few questions here regarding the location of your facility. So obviously you are headquartered right here in Michigan, Dearborn, and you were founded in Dearborn, correct? You haven't
in Detroit itself, actually. We had a factory in Detroit years and years ago, yes.
Okay, so you kind of followed the Ford Motor Company model, founded in Detroit, moved to Detroit.
And we're like right next to their headquarters, yes.
Fair enough. But so you have, and your slide mentioned you have manufacturing facilities, and I think Kentucky, Tennessee, and you mentioned, this slide mentions plants in Mexico as well. How do you make these siting decisions? What are the factors that goes into siting a Carhartt manufacturing facility? Because it doesn't look like you're doing manufacturing in Michigan right now.
Correct. And we haven't added, we've really grown more recently our production capacity through sourcing. But we went to Mexico. We were probably one of the last companies to actually, move offshore at all in apparel. But we went to Mexico in the 90s, and we've just, as opportunities to find facilities near where we already had existing facilities, because there's a component of having one laundry, those kinds of things, some synergies. We've taken advantage of that as other apparel companies have left Mexico and went to Asia. Because our product is a replenishment product, it does make sense for us to manufacture close to the United States, because it is repeatable, replenishable product that you want a fairly quick supply chain. We do make a significant amount in Asia as well. A lot of it is really predicated on where you can get the fabrics, and the mills for some of the technical fabrics are more often located in Asia. So we haven't done a lot of exploring around new manufacturing ourselves. We've just continued to be committed to keeping up with what we currently have.
So, over the decades, America's capacity around, milling fabrics and things like that has obviously gone down, dramatically. What challenges does Carhartt have in getting the source materials to be able to produce all that you produce in the United States?
That is a challenge, and what we've continued to make in the United States is sort of that core iconic product, because we already had a supply. And as the demand for our core duck, kind of when you see, the brown duck jackets that people think of as classic Carhartt, that's what we make primarily in the United States, because we've developed a supply chain here with that fabric. Trying to build something new is definitely more challenging. But I think as we think about the evolution of our U.S. supply chain, we are looking at how do we, one of the new aspects of apparel is customization. And think about Nike ID, where you get to build your own pair of shoes with whatever colors or fabrics you want. We're thinking that may be the U.S. manufacturing experience of the future. And we'll have to figure out how to make sure that we have the supplies available to do that, and that'll just be another way to connect closer to the consumer, is to have them actually, ideate on product with us.
I have a question from Phil Biggs. He's with PwC here in Detroit. So he mentions the inspiring letter from the Tennessee farmer who returned after 27 years, his overalls. So the commitment is evident, he says. What about the same emotional connection with your foreign customers in foreign markets? Have you been able to replicate that, that superfan experience, that loyalty that you're seeing here in the United States with your foreign customers?
We have right now primarily our other marketplace is Europe. We have a subsidiary located in Amsterdam, and we're selling our workwear through that company. And yes, I mean, we have the same, I can show you the same letter in German if you want to say, almost the same one. So yeah, there's a lot, what resonates about the legacy of the brand, the respect for hardworking people, that's resonating there as well. We also have a licensed relationship with Carhartt WIP, which is a different take on the Carhartt brand that is in Europe and Asia, and it's more around fashion, but it's really, WIP connects to our brand ethos, and what they really activate around is artists and musicians and, that kind of craftsmanship, and people that want to wear Carhartt for, what it stands for. So that's been a very successful connection as well. Building
and that. Lynn, is that like a European only brand, or is that available globally or in North America?
They do have a New York store in Soho. Carhartt WIP does, and then there is also they also distribute through some specialty men's apparel stores as well. It's not very wide. I'm sorry, they have a store in LA too. So, but it's not widely distributed yet here. But a lot of people mention it to me when they travel to Europe, that they see their stores and are trying to understand the connection. And they've been a licensee for 25 years, so they've really helped us to grow the brand as well in Europe and Asia.
And do they use some version of the Carhartt logo or just the Carhartt name? How does that work?
They use our logo. They originally started by buying our duck and then fabric, and then they would over dye it. And they were using it primarily to appeal to the skate community and streetwear community. And then as their consumer base broadened and got a little bit older over these 25 years, it's become a broader line. And they've continued to evolve who their consumer is as well.
So this is going to be our last question, and it comes from Liz Spearman. So leadership has changed over the last 50 years. How have you seen leadership change within Carhartt, and what advice do you have to young CEOs to authentically guide their teams to success? So how do we do this over the long term like you have at Carhartt?
I would say that leadership styles have evolved from maybe what was more directive chain of command styles to team leads and connecting at a personal level with associates, more one-on-one, more availability and approachability for CEOs and really every leader in the company. How would young CEOs approach this? I think it's just continuing to explain to people, why they're doing what they're doing, because we know young people in particular want to have purpose and want to have meaning, and they're spending a ton of hours in your workplace, and they want to feel like they're making a difference. And it's a challenge, to keep people interested and engaged. And it's just hard work. It's a lot of more communication than I'm doing more now than I ever did. Now, part of that is the pandemic, right? Because you're just trying to stay connected, and the only thing you can do are these videos. And but it's and I've been just trying to do a lot of one-on-one check-ins with people, which I'm sure can freak people out from time to time when you get pinged to check in. But overall, the more people I can have those with, then people know you're approachable, and word gets out that, and the surveys, the feedback and actually responding to the feedback and making changes to address what people's concerns are. On this particular survey, we got a very high score on people saying, yeah, I believe when I give you feedback, you're actually going to do something about it, which is really critical. You have to walk the talk.
No, absolutely. We just got named for the second year in a row one of the best places to work by the Detroit Free Press, and understand all of the work and that goes into kind of maintaining that very positive employee experience. Because at the end of the day, that's all our organizations are. Is we're just a bunch of people trying to serve other people, and how do we do that authentically? How do we do that well? How do we do that while taking care of our own people? Is a critical task. It's interesting talking to you, Linda, like this. It reminds me of talking to Bill Ford in a lot of ways. Not just because you're next door to him, you're born.
We're a little smaller company than Ford.
Well, but there's a lot of similarities. One, you're roughly the same age, but the way that Carhartt has been able to maintain its values and its ethos, over the 100+ year history of the firm, is exactly what Bill Ford would say at Ford Motor Company, is that they're going back to the founder's vision and mission. And throughout your presentation, you constantly hearken back to what did our founder say? How did our founder view what our mission is? And you haven't strayed from that in 127 years. So I imagine that is a kind of a walking, talking, set of ethoses that the firm has that enables you to keep that culture and keep that drive and keep that commitment amongst your 4,000 employees globally now.
5,300, yeah. So Sandy, I would, in the spirit of candor, I would be lying if I didn't tell you once in a while we strayed, and but you're over a long span of time, you're allowed to make those mistakes and recover fairly quickly. But yes, certainly, we got caught by the shiny penny from time to time, and then we just quickly circled ourselves back in, like, no, that's not Carhartt. So, and that's just part of, making mistakes and learning from them. And overall, you took a step forward, even if you took a little step back. So, yeah.
I don't know if there's a company that's 100 years old that hasn't strayed from its Well, great. Well, listen, we've come to the end of our time here. There is a raffle, however, and I have the pleasure of being able to announce a raffle winner, and here it is. It just popped up. Okay, so for $100 Carhartt e-gift card, the winner is Monica DeJesus. If hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, Monica, and you're with Detroit Pal. Right there on Michigan Avenue. So that's just awesome. So Monica, will make sure to get that to you, and thank you for throwing your hat in the ring. And before we close up shop here, I'm going to turn it over to you, Linda, just for some last words for our audience.
Well, I do thank you for your time today that you spent with me. I'm actually honored that you carved out a little bit of time to listen to what I had to say. And appreciate those of you that are Carhartt enthusiasts, appreciate you for being great customers and consumers. And those of you that aren't, maybe you can try a watch cap or a few small items and give the brand a try. So we have something for everyone, as long as you admire and respect hard work. So thank you.
Linda, thank you so much. Congratulations on your ongoing success and just the fabulous success that Carhartt has been on for the last several years. I mean, it has just been impressive to watch. So congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you, Sandy. Really appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for yet again joining the Detroit Regional Chamber. We're so honored to have you spend your valuable time with us. And with that, I wish everyone a good day. I thank our speaker, Linda Hubbard from Carhartt, once again. And take care and be well and be good to each other. Take care. Bye-bye.